What's up, guys? It's been a long ass week. It's warm as hell in here, and we're still a week away from the long weekend. I'm just gonna get right into it. It's Friday night, so you know what that means. Adam, how's it going, man?
Hey, what's up, Chris? How's everything?
Oh, just I feel like between working and snakes and stuff, there's just not enough time in a day,
Oh, forget it. Not enough time at night, too.
All right, Adam. So you've actually been on the show before, but this is your first time on your own. So without giving away too much, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. So I'm Adam from Morphs by Design. I've been doing this for maybe 10 years now, and yeah, that's pretty much nothing else to it. I specialize in clowns mostly, and yeah, I don't know. It's pretty much it.
That'll work for now because we're gonna touch on a lot of other stuff. So, man, you and I don't talk enough. I don't know why. You literally have made some of my favorite stuff. One of, if not the favorite animal that I have in our collection came from you, which was a female super GHI Mojave Het clown. Thing's just insane. I still don't know why you let that animal go, but you know what? Let's just jump right into it. So first and foremost, I don't know why all of a sudden all my questions are out of order. Sorry, man. What's the reason you do this? How'd you get into it?
I mean, I guess everyone's got this story. So my stories, I'd say, I don't know exactly what got me into wanting to buy a ball python as a pet. I voiced that to one of my employees at the time, and she just out of nowhere, she's like, I have a friend that breeds snakes. So I'm like, oh, get out of here. I'm like, I never heard of that. Someone breeding snakes, So she took me over there one day, and he had a couple tubs on heat tape, like on a shelf, with the lid on it, like that setup. And he just hatched out a bunch of super pastels. So I'm like, all right, these things are crazy looking. So I grabbed one. It might have been a female. I threw it in a tank, actually, right over here, right behind the counter at my vitamin store. Probably the most inappropriate place to have a pet reptile, in like a place you sell health food goods and whatnot. So I had it there for like 2 weeks or so. And then I had one of my late friend, Chris, came through, and then he saw this thing. And he's like, get out of here. Why the hell didn't you hit Doug up? Doug is one of our mutual friends from school. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, Doug? Like, he deals with these things? And he's like, bro, he's like, hit him up. So I called Doug, and I'm like, and he's like, yo, come over. I go over to his house, and I go into, his room. And it was fucking, it was fucking wild, like my first, I'm going from this dude and being like, wow, this is crazy with like, the Tupperwares with the lids on just heat tape. And he's just got aisles and aisles of, ARS, Freedom Breeder, and then to the ceiling. So like, I'm like, this is just wild. Then he just starts showing me stuff. Then he's cracking bins, and he's like, 20 grand, 25 grand, like 15 grand, kind of just throwing it out like what these things are going for, whatever. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. I'm like, this is like a legal grow operation, So I'm like, it's like right there. I mean, obviously I got in it because I wanted the pet. I was into the snakes. I love reptiles. But then even just to see all the, to hear these numbers and stuff, I'm like, wow, this could be a business too, So I walked out of there with a a killer bee, a huge step up from my super pastel. I don't even know what I did with the super pastel. I sold it, but this is going a long ways back. And ever since then, I mean, I've gone through trials and tribulations like everyone, but I was hooked. I got in, I started buying everything, zero direction. Things got overwhelming, times got rough, ups and downs. And I'm like, during like a downtime, I just ended up selling my racks, my whole collection to Dave Palumbo. That kind of got him going. He had like a normal bull python in a tub. I hit him up and I'm like, you might be interested in maybe getting into like this stuff like on a breeding level. So he came by, he cut me a check, walked out with all my shit. A year or two later, I started over again, and it was good, clean slate, and I kind of knew where to go and where to start. And I kept things real tight ever since. I am very particular, very selective on what I pick. Everything needs a purpose. Everything needs a purpose. You can't get like lost in this shit,
It gets very overwhelming when you just start picking up stuff just because it looks nice and just because it's cool. You know what I mean? Like it can become a lot very quickly.
Yeah, for sure. It's and then when you're got a mouth and ass to take care of, to feed, and whatnot. It's like, and there's no purpose behind it. I mean, your workload's gonna get crazy, and then so you. Like, I like to just keep things tight and, and even not even that. And also, I just give a shout out to Doug, his companies at DNS Morphs. He even told me, like, he's like, listen, he's like, back when I had only a few racks, that's when I loved it. I enjoyed it. Now it's like a little bit more work, and I kind of like, I sunk that in the back of my head and, and I kept with it, and it's a good point.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because when I look at stuff like that, when I try to see it from other people's perspectives, it's kind of hard because I don't care for my collection on my own. You know what I mean? The Reptile Ward's a partnership. I have another person involved as well. So looking at like workload and stuff like that, like I get really lucky because sometimes I have off weeks where, Nick will have to pick up a little bit extra because I'm working extra or whatever, right? A lot of people that don't have a partner in this don't have any of that. So you don't get that choice. So that works there no matter what. You can't avoid it, right? So yeah, man, I couldn't even imagine. We're at a point now where I'm feeling a little bit like we're maxed out kind of animal wise, like size of the collection wise. So it's an interesting position to be in, trying to figure out kind of what to trim down to, you know what I mean, make room to let projects still grow.
Yeah, it's never easy to let go of like, breed a girl, whatever, too,
Especially when it's something powerful and you could do something really cool with it. Like, it sucks.
Yeah.
All right.
It's true.
Jumping on another question. What was the origin of your business name? And to add on top of that, were there any other names that you were considering that you look back on now?
Good question. I don't know if I really have a good answer because I don't know. I feel like I came up with that name with not too much thought, and it didn't take me too much time to kind of roll with it. I might even have been I might have put a couple things on a piece of paper and bounced things back and forth, but I kind of came up with that relatively quickly.
Fair enough. Hey, I prefer honesty. Okay, so you said about 10 years ago. So we've kind of covered the when, but like how'd you end up in the hobby? Did you just like go to a pet store one day to get that first python, or what was it? Did you say that? Oh, you went to Buddy's house with the tubs, right? With the lids.
Yeah. That was like recent years. Obviously, as a child, I had my share of reptiles and my
Okay,
share
yep.
of reptiles I wish I had, but my parents wouldn't let me get. So I always had that reptile part of me.
Fair enough. Okay, so it didn't just start with the ball python stuff. That's kind of where I was going with that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I had frogs, turtles. I mean, the one thing I always wanted was a snake, and I couldn't have, which I'm sure that's probably the story with a lot of us deprived as children. So when we get our own place, it's like it's game on. Um,
Funny enough, I wasn't allowed to have a snake, and I just did it anyway because I figured my mother would be too terrified to do anything about it. Um, and I was right, but like looking back, I feel terrible about doing it. um, like all the props to my mom for somehow putting up with me. But yeah, when I first started back like 11, 12 years ago, it was the racks were all set up in her like furnace room of her house.
yeah,
That's how I
it's
got
like
started.
it's almost like I'm.
Yeah, it was pretty good. All right, so you kind of mentioned that you specialize in clown when you got started here, but what all projects are you working on? Whether in clown, outside of clown, anything?
Um, well, I got the Desert Ghost Clown stuff going. Yeah, I'm gonna be hopefully I don't want to count my ducks before they hatch, but I'm gonna make hopefully some nice heads this year with a double visual female. I figured that let me get one of my next level powerhouse males and really take a leap ahead on that project. Um, got a bunch of. I'm gonna hopefully have some redhead clown stuff combos.
Oh, so
Um,
you're working with the redhead stuff. Not a lot of people have that.
Yep, yep. I just had a redhead spot nose clown drop some eggs.
Awesome.
I think I got maybe maybe 7 or 8. So a decent sized clutch. You know,
Wow, nice. That's awesome.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
that's a project that hasn't even been explored all that much so far, right? Like there hasn't been a lot done with it.
No, yeah, I started seeing a few things Justin was coming out with a few months ago, and it really is true. I feel like there's a lot more to be seen with that, and that was right at the gate. That was really what got me into it. I was not 100% sure. I was keep going back and forth, and all I kept saying is like, listen, the redhead, them, it's making stuff very unique, completely different than any other gene. I'm not necessarily liking what I was seeing at that time, but just how unique it was in comparison to other things. I'm like, I want to see where this goes. I want to work it, and I want to be in it, before, I don't want to jump in it later on after. I want to be part of that road of discovery. Like the path to see what this is going to do.
For sure. Yeah, it's definitely a really cool gene. I don't even know if there's any of it in Canada yet, and if there is, I'd imagine it would probably be JP that has it. But I don't think anybody's made anything with it here yet. Yeah, it's definitely very very interesting. Very it'll be a very cool, like unique thing to kind of watch be built upon.
And
Um,
even like the non-visual clowns, they're cool. They're really, redhead's got a lot of potential.
I actually only even know of a few people in the States that are working with them. So, over the next few years, kind of like the Jag stuff. Are you seeing much of that?
I mean, I'm not actually, that's a gene I'm just out of sight for me. Yeah, I'm not even, to be honest, I'm not even too familiar with it.
It's it's kind of like leopard, but different. I don't know too much about it either. There is some of that up here. It's starting to really pick up steam. Yeah, it's another one of those that are out there that like there's not too much done with just yet, not too much known about it. So just another one of those that you kind of got to watch coming up. Oh, all right, I was wrong. Guy up here, Michael Graham has redhead. Cool, that's neat. Got a question from the comments for Pete's Snakes. Any other species you'd like to breed?
Oh, gee, I just got into chondros full force, and they're incredible.
Man, my favorite. Oh, green tree pythons are my favorite animal. Like my entire leg sleeve is based around green tree python. I love them.
Oh, you got a green tree on your leg
Oh my,
tattoo?
yeah, it goes right down onto my foot. It would be very awkward to try and show on a live, but it's yeah, it's basically the entire like centerpiece of my entire leg sleeve.
Yeah, I was thinking that the other day. I'm like, yo, maybe I'll get one of these things tattooed on me. Um,
It's pretty fucking cool. I really like mine, so that's all I can say.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think also, I feel like a lot of people are gonna start to get into conjures more and more now. I'm starting to see it pick up a lot of steam. A lot of the demand for it far exceeds the supply. Um, and uh, I mean, it's really what got me into it. I love green tree pythons, but what opened my eyes to it is I had someone that purchased a couple of animals from me. It was a decent purchase. So I actually drove out to him. It was maybe like took me. It might have been a 3 hour drive. 6 hours later, I finally got there. Um, flat tire, etc. Nightmare of a trip. But when I got in there, he had all these chondros, and what really got me into it, I didn't know that they were designed at chondros. I thought they were just green tree pythons, locality. They all it's a green tree python. Love them, but I didn't know that you can breed them based on bloodline. You can make crazy blue ones,
Mhm.
turquoise, like ones that are black and blue.
Yeah,
All sorts
you
of
were
wild
thinking what everybody
colors.
thinks, that they're all green trees, and some have a couple more yellow specks, and some have a couple more blue specks, but they're all green trees, like whatever, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. When I started seeing like you could line breed and then with the pedigree and this and that, and you could control how the outcome will be. I mean, that's one of the huge factors that it makes me attracted to bull pythons and that the whole business of it. It's like being able to create cool things by utilizing these genes more of like on a palette, where you could have some control over what you're making.
It's a different style of breeding, right? It's not like the lottery, like ball pythons, where you're kind of just rolling dice and going, well,
Yeah.
it's a little more controlled, right?
Well, it's going by bloodline instead of genes. So when you don't go with by bloodline, when you produce, every single baby is the same exact same blood, So theoretically every baby is going to be really the same in terms of what's inside of them. In terms of overall appearance, that once they start to mature and they start changing, they're going to have different looks. Obviously, you want the coolest looking stuff because they're display animals. And obviously, even ball pythons in a tub, everyone appreciates opening a tub with the thing glowing. I mean, you want a nice looking animal. It's not just about producing nice animals, it's about having nice adults and stuff. So ideally, you would want the nicest looking animals, and that's the goal. That's why a lot of people wait till they change colors before they know whether they're going to sell them or not. But the thing is regardless of what they look like, if the regular plain green tree python in there, you can have one that turns green, one that's like black and blue and wild looking. That green one could make the same, if not even nicer babies, possibly with the same because it has the same exact blood. It's a little joke around within the conjure world. It's like, well, it might has to be like there's another one I'm thinking of, but people say um, that like the regular green ones sometimes they throw the nicer babies. But what the joke is, it's like you can't predict these things. What I was thinking of is like a big joke is like you have the craziest looking baby, it's gonna change, and then ultimately everyone's like, all right, it's like, watch, it's gonna end up like an old green snake. Because everyone's got these anticipations, it's gonna be wild, and the next thing you know, it's all green. But it's still gonna make the coolest stuff anyway.
So it's still a lottery in its own way, just in a different way. That's kind of
Oh
neat.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right, so we kind of went rolling off this, but I know you're working with a lot more than just redhead. What else do you have kind of working over there?
Um, Let me see what else I got. Just trying to think what I just got in the incubator. Um, I got like the super gravels, super gravel, super entry clown stuff. I'm working with again this year. I made some stuff last year. Um,
Well, what was that? What was that mail you made? That insane clown mail. It was either early last season or late the season before.
I think you're referring to the ODYB Red Stripe Fire clown.
That's the one. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I ran that thing through 5 girls this year.
that's awesome.
So that's actually the mail I took to the redhead too. So we'll see what happens with that.
That'll be really sick because that mail, like, I bet that mail aged really well too. But that thing was incredible when it hatched.
Nice, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah,
it aged well. Yeah,
and
for
if
sure.
anybody isn't following him, go follow Morphs by Design on Instagram because he's got some cool shit.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. How many clutches are you expecting this year between what you've got already and what you got coming?
I got five cooking, and I got 2 more coming, so 7 total.
So you're keeping it a little smaller this year, or do you usually get under 10?
Yeah. I don't have like I try and keep under a full. I try and stick to one rack. I'm not looking to outgrow a rack right now. I'm like, you got it. Yeah. I don't have. I keep things tight. I mean, I sell all my nice females when I just feel like, all right, I just need to move something in, and I got to keep it moving until I got more space. I'm keeping, I'm not going to be making more than 10 clutches a year anytime soon.
So, are there any genes out there that you don't have yet that you're really looking forward to getting into your collection? Is there anything you've got your eye on?
Right now, I'm kind of like, I'm not seeing it. Um, I see like the Cosmo stuff I find is interesting. It's cool. I definitely wouldn't mind having it in my rack. Um, am I looking to dive into it right now? I mean, I'm gonna hang tight probably. But that's the only gene I would say that stands out to me. Besides um, everything else that I've been seeing.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat right now with the Grim stuff. Like, I like it, but I'll probably just hold back and like see what else is done with it first. But
Yeah.
all right, so what are your goals in the next 3 to 5 years? Is there anything big you're hoping to hit? Any projects you're hoping to kind of like climax in that time?
In terms of product, I mean, in 3 or 5 years, I hate to repeat myself, but that's when I would hopefully be making a lot of the cool Desert Ghost Clown stuff with these heads that I'm going to be making. Um, 3 to 5 years, I might be, working with some puzzle stuff, puzzle Desert Ghost Clowns, um, like triple recessives. I and I mean the chondros. I mean, I'm going to be hopefully, producing some chondros by that time. Outside the genes, I hope to, um, I'm hope to move out of my house and buy a bigger house so I can expand my, and I don't want to get crazy with it, but in terms of volume, but I, uh, I ultimately would I want to have more than one rack, more than 10 clutches, and also with that in the picture, ultimately one day be able to kind of make this more of my main focus than my other businesses.
So that's one thing I wanted to ask you. For some reason, I had no idea until a couple days ago, but I just happened to just look up your profile on Facebook, and I guess you're sitting there right now. That's your store. So
Yes,
what is
yes.
it you do besides breeding?
Well, I have a vitamin nutrition store geared towards athletes. I've been here like this location. Here 13 years. Oh, this is basically my primary gig. Um, I'm in the beginning stages of actually starting an enclosure business. Oh, which with being like it's related to reptiles. I mean, it's passion driven, so I'm excited about that. I've got a really crazy CNC machine, a facility, all that. Um, Things are in motion, but between every me and my partner of that business, like between that all of our other stuff going on, it's slow and steady, but we're getting there. And yeah, it, yeah, it's a honestly the reptiles is probably that's my main, like everything else is like, my vitamin store, I love it. I really didn't change a thing, but like, you know, I don't work out. I love reptiles.
That's
Yeah,
fair, man. Yeah, no, and it's cool though. Like you're kind of just doing your own thing on all fronts, you know.
yeah.
So we got Kevin from the chat asking which recessives you're working with. You've already mentioned a couple. Are there any other in your collection that you're kind of playing around with?
What, like different genes?
Just different
Or
recessives.
different? Oh, recessive wise, yep. So basically, it's just the puzzle, desert ghost, and clown. And that's just straight by choice. I want to get it into another recessive plugged in there, but I don't know what I want right now. Um,
And the
and
thing that some people don't realize too with recessives is when you're getting into something like that, like you can't just get a male and a female. Like that's you know what I mean? People like us don't just go buy a pair and leave it at that, right? It becomes quite a big space investment as well. Like you're taking up a lot of um, square footage with these animals to work these projects, so you have to be very selective.
yeah, I mean, if you're working by building up your own heads and growing them like that, yeah, you're gonna need a full rack just for that one project.
Okay, this is a really good question from Pete from the chat. One more time. Um, First of all, when you answer this, tell everybody where you're from, just because we haven't really touched on that. But Pete asked, how concerned are you about the impact of legislation on the hobby?
Well, I'm located in New York. Um, Nothing has directly impacted us, but it's obviously it is a concern. Being that, I mean, it gets even maybe more with the chondro related, but with ball pythons, I feel like it's just not a good thing to have tightening up restrictions across the board because, especially with this new legislation where they can there's very little to any due process. Um, yeah, it's a threat. I mean, honestly, it's just not really a concern of mine. It's not keeping me up at night. Um, but I obviously anything against us, in regards to legislation, it's just a path in the wrong direction, and we all should be concerned.
And that's the real answer. Like a lot of people live in places that might not have been affected at all so far by any of the people protesting the hobby and all that kind of stuff. But realistically, every time one of these little, states or even towns or cities end up passing these laws, they create precedents for other towns, cities, states to do the same thing, and it actually makes it easier going forward for other places to do the same. So yeah, like even if it's not directly concerning to where people live, everybody, even us up in Canada, everybody's got to be concerned because this is what we all love, right? So
Yeah. Well, sticking with that topic, so I've been catering to the idea of even maybe moving out of New York one day. But like, so as I'm going through like the different areas, different states, that's number one priority on the top of my head. I'm like, all right, like how strict are the laws? Like, what's the future possibly? For instance, moving to Florida. I mean, things are getting tight down there. That would be where probably where I would move to if I were to break out of here. But yeah, it's a concern for sure. I mean, especially when you get in, like when you're starting to pick way, I mean, that being said, that's the first thing on my top of my head when I'm thinking about possibly moving to Florida. You know,
It
it's a
seems
valid
like
concern.
I don't want to say a lot, but it seems like a good chunk of people that I see in the U.S. that are moving lately, like between states, are going to Texas. So I don't know if that's particularly because of like laxer laws or what. But I've noticed a bit of a pattern, the past 8, 10, 12 months of people kind of relocating to that area. So
Yeah, oh yeah, Texas is blowing up. Also, just a ton of snake breeders there for some reason. I don't know why, but it's just like there's a ton of them over there. I would love to live in Texas, or I wouldn't be, it's almost like Florida, Texas. I mean, they're both very similar to me. My wife, on the other hand, she would want to go to Florida, so Texas is out of the question for her. But it's nice over there.
I've never actually been. I've been to very few places in the U.S. I've been into New York State quite a bit, but not like I've been to Buffalo. I've been to a bunch of like little towns, not far from the border. But yeah, I haven't got to experience much of the U.S. to be completely honest with you. So I really should make a point to. And then on top of that, there's so many cool shows, across the U.S. like throughout the year. I've just I've got to stop being so damn lazy and just get there.
Yeah, you should go to Tinley this year. Hit up the
So I
October
think I think the
Tinley.
plan is to try to be there. I know our good friends Michelle and Paul already have their hotel room booked, and I think the hotel is sold out. So we're probably gonna have to figure out somewhere nearby to stay. But the plan is to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna try and make it down too. So yeah, hopefully you make it. We can link up there.
So what
Um,
what what's that drive for you? How long are you looking at?
well, I fly in. Um,
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
yeah, yeah, it's like maybe like two hours or so to just get over there.
I
Yeah,
I would fly, but the hassle of going through the airport because it's international for something that I could drive in 8 hours. You know what I mean? I'd rather just drive.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to be standing in lines for 2.5 hours to then get on a plane for 2 hours. Like it doesn't make any sense.
You have no idea the adventure I went through with that last Tinley show. I got holy smoke. So we got there. I don't want to stray off topic too much,
No, no,
but
no. It's hey, talk about Tinley. Tinley's always a fun time,
yeah.
so go for it.
So Tinley was awesome. Tinley itself, but it came with costs. So going down there. First off, we get on the runway. We get on the plane. It's my first time my kid's flying. He's not even 2 years old. We're just praying this is gonna go well. And over an hour delay on the tarmac with the hot muggy plane, whatever. We got there. I mean, delay it happens. We get there. Our luggage is gone. Oh no, no, no. All right. So we had the same exact identical luggage came out on the carousel. I took the wrong bag. Go to the car rental place. I'll crack the suitcase because I need to get something for the car rental, like desk or whatever. I don't know what it was or whatever. I realized it wasn't our bag. Shot back over there, maybe a half hour later. Of course, this isn't all within the airport, the car rental place. Get back. Our bags are gone. I'm sorry, our bag, one of them. And actually, no, my bad. It's the only bag. The other one was a carry-on. And then they said it most likely got stolen. I'm like, all right, whatever. Next thing you know, we're at Target at like 1 a.m. with our 1.5-year-old. When we were supposed to be at the hotel like 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night, get a nice night's sleep, go to the show. So we finally we're buying our buying our underwear, deodorant, all the necessities or whatever, Pampers. Get to the hotel at like 2 something in the morning. Who knows? Got barely enough. Oh, and I had my sleep. I'm like, I take shit to go to sleep at night, and so my medication was in the bag too. So here I am. We get there at 2, 3 in the morning. I don't sleep a peep. We get to the show. I'm all messed up on no sleep. Blah blah blah. This that. So on and so forth. I go a couple days 0 sleep. So now we get to the airport to go back. And now I'm just so freaking exhausted. I'm moving slow mo to the point where when we got to the gate, the door to the gate is closing. I go, and I don't want to be rude, especially at the airport. You don't want to make crazy moves, so I don't go grab the door to like prevent it from closing shut. I let it close shut, and I knocked to have him open it for us. The guy kept his back to us. Sure enough, they took off without us, right in our face, with the kid in my arms, everything, baby, whatever. We missed the flight back. Now I've got to go to downtown Chicago, rent a hotel, go another night with 0 sleep. I finally got home. I mean, I can't. It was probably more craziness to it than that, but it was. Oh, and then I caught COVID on the fucking flight back. I was so screwed up. I had pneumonia for like 2 months.
Jesus. So was that was the one that just happened?
That was October. Honestly, I this is my first time going, but I think I'm gonna stick to just going to the October show. I hear that's the better one.
We got to, I want to say it was the October 2019 show. Yeah, because then they didn't have it for 2 years, right? No, they didn't have it for all of 2020. That's what it was. Anyway, and it was just a fucking blast. Like, we went to the auction, all that kind of stuff. I wanted to never miss another one, but then unfortunately COVID happened. So.
Oh, so you went you went before? I didn't even realize you went.
We've been to Tinley once. We accidentally rented an Airbnb in a very unfriendly area. That was fun. But no, other than that, Tinley was a fucking blast, man.
Yeah, that auction is wild. Everyone's talking about. I'm like, it's an auction, But yeah, it definitely is a good time.
Dylan from the chat asks, what projects do you think are going to take over in the next 5 years? Yes, you are going to Tinley. Jesus Christ.
What projects? I wish I could project the future like that. I can't. I think we're going to start seeing like a lot more cool stuff with puzzles. I think even starting this season, Yeah, off the top of my head, I just can't have an answer right now off the top of my head. But I might, yeah.
What ones would you like to see take off? Like, is there any projects out there right now that you don't think is getting the thank you, the I don't know, the eyes on it that maybe it should, whether it's a gene or a specific double recessive or anything like that?
Not right now. If you asked me like a year or two ago, I would have said things along the lines of like paint, lace. Lace has plenty of eyes on it now.
What's going on with your paint stuff? Did you just decide to move away from that, or?
Yeah, your boy Nathan's got my girl, his girl now. But yeah, I'm not gonna dive back into it. It's funny, I sold that to him because that thing wanted to kill me every time I wanted to open the tub. But I told him that, he's cool with it. So
no, yeah, he was probably stoked about it. Nathan's a good guy and he's a great keeper, so he was probably all about it. He probably didn't care.
Yeah. Well, they're the ones that eat good, so which I'm fine with aggressive animals. It's just if I open that tub and the thing is always got its head up in striking mode and you can't go near it, I'm like, I don't want to be dealing with that. I just want to blast through my stuff, and also like I, like that snake, I couldn't read. Also probably because I just got it. I mean, if that's my animal and I've been working it, if I hatch that, I know everything about it. I can read its body language a million times. This thing I could not read, and I don't even think it gave me an opportunity to read it. It's not like I could have gone around, grabbed it. The thing was on point. It would get me any which direction you try and work it. So it was. I don't know. I'm like, let me just unload it, get another one, or get something in the future down the road. But I think I'm moving on for that one, honestly.
And honestly, you know what? Nathan was fucking thrilled with that. Like the fact that I set you two up for that, because he was over the moon that he got her too, right? So that was pretty cool for me. But like it's definitely a really interesting project. Like I didn't think much of it. Billy actually had some paint stuff when I worked for him. But I guess it would be like the Het Sentinel, like just a single gene paint. So I never really saw anything in it, and I just never thought anything of it. And then fucking Justin's out here fucking knocking out these Sentinel clowns and shit. And it just makes you like hate yourself, right?
You think that you would you consider it recessive or
That's tough because I'm the same guy that'll argue that Monsoon isn't recessive. But like paint's a weird one, right? I'd say you can see it. I'd say it's incomplete dominant. But then some people argue, and I don't work with it, so I don't have enough experience to say 100% either way. But then some people say some that don't display anything prove out, and some that show whatever people look for is paint don't. So I don't know. Maybe.
I wonder
tough,
if these new DNA like testings they can clarify that through blood work, or not blood work, through sheds or whatever.
This fucking dude's asking my girlfriend for naughty pictures. What the fuck, Pete? God,
one of your boys.
It is what it is.
But I heard someone that was working with paint for years told me that that he thinks that it's not recessive and that it was very obvious of a paint, like het paint, like they had, it looked like shit was running off of them. And he said as as things were bred to siblings and so on and so forth, it lost it lost that characteristic that made it easy to identify. Now being that it's more subtle, it's more like markers to give you a hunch that it's it's a het.
It's kind of funny too because I was the same way with Monsoon. I was convinced that the hets had markers, like the hets weren't hets. It was a codom, right? But now the more I see of animals, even coming out of visual monsoons, it's like, man, that's got to technically be a het, but I don't see the stuff that I convinced myself were the het markers. You know what I mean? So who the fuck knows anymore? There's so much to this fucking hobby, man.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we can guess all we want, but then it just comes down to a matter of opinion, and I don't think it makes a difference at the end of the day. A super is just as hard to make as a recessive,
It's basically the same fucking thing at the end of the day, genetically.
Yep. Yeah, it's true. Same deal. If you have a female, that that could throw, that there's a super form of. It's the same deal. There's no way to make a super unless you got the girl, like up to size.
Well, here, think about this for a second, because this is something that I thought about a long time ago that I find really funny. So a super is just as hard to make as a visual recessive, correct? But for some reason, us as an entire hobby put way more weight on producing the visual recessive over a super. Why?
Yeah.
It doesn't, like, they're interchangeable things. It literally doesn't make a difference. Both animals have two of a certain gene sitting on the same allele, but one is outweighed by the other, and there's no actual reason for it. Not only that, what's funnier is the super actually looks visually different. Like, you get two levels of difference. The het looks one way, and then the visual looks another way. Whereas your visual recessives, the hets look like normals, and then the second one looks different. So the value should actually be on the other side.
Well, I guess what it is like genetically, yes, but like when it comes down to what you can make with them, say if you have a super GHI, you could pass that single copy of GHI onto all the offsprings with that super, and you could have cool looking GHI stuff. If you're working with like a clown to whatever, it's not gonna look like there's another gene plugged in there, you know. So to get to the visual version of that, it's not like you're not getting 50. So instead of getting 50% or whatever you want to, however you want to look at it, you're getting 0% visually, until you're making the double visuals.
Yeah, it's a really funny dynamic, right? Like, I personally don't care. I love the hobby. I love producing visual recessives. I don't think anybody doesn't. Like, they're just so fun. But it's just when you look at it from a genetic level and then compare it to like the economic way we've kind of weighed them out, how one's valued versus the other. It's really funny. That's all. Yeah. We got a super chat comment. Flora Dabby, I do not know how to say that. 653 says, "Yo, Adam is the real deal. Darkland Morphs."
Oh, yo, what up? That's my boy Harold.
That's
awesome,
you
guys,
man.
go give him a follow too.
Okay, so we're going to jump on to another question. What do you believe is a non-recessive staple gene that every collection needs to have?
A non-recessive staple gene. Well, gotta have it, it's right there in the wording, the name, and then I'd say, GHI. I think like if you don't have yellow belly in your collection, I find that to be odd. Not saying you necessarily need it in your collection, but that very common gene that could do so much to different blends.
Well, and then you said GHI. Even GHI yellow belly stuff is fucking amazing. You know what I mean? Like, and then you start putting GHI yellow belly into like clown and stuff like that, and it's crazy. Like the compounds, right?
Yeah. Like yellow belly's making most things pop.
All right.
Orange. I think Orange Stream. I think is a must-have too.
That's a good answer. I like that. All right, where is this last one? Oh no, I have two more. What was your first big disappointment or letdown?
My first, I'd say my first clutch. I was going after caramel glows. Got the caramel gene. I advise everyone to stay away from that. In my opinion, go ultra male if you have the choice. The genetic kinking, it's just, and the infertility. The short's possible, but the female is very hard to get a valuable clutch out of. But yeah, my first clutch, they all were all messed up. They're all kinked up. And then I think I got had another caramel glow clutch shortly after, and they were all messed up too.
It's so you got a clutch, so they went full term and then didn't make it, kind of thing.
Oh yeah. Actually, honestly, I think they might have even got out the egg all twisted up. Maybe or maybe some one or two or whatever, and I ultimately had to pull the other ones. But yeah, full term.
Yeah, man,
I think they were.
that's brutal.
I think they were alive too. Maybe they could have been. This is going back like 10 years back. Like I was saying, I got like some breeder. Two double head breeder. Ghost clown. Ghost. Caramels. And the. So.
Yeah, you know what? It like it always sucks when the female say slugs out or whatever, but like it hits a little different when you have a clutch go all the way to term and then something happens. You know what I mean? Like seeing the animals and then not seeing them live on is super rough. We actually I was actually going to make a post about it and I didn't realize I didn't do it until we're just sitting here talking right now. But last month we had a clutch. It was an Enchi collider, possible asphalt, and very obviously asphalt, but it was sold as a possible asphalt. And we bred her to a yellow belly clown combo. We had 6 eggs, and we've never produced anything calico ever, right? 6 eggs. One of those eggs had twins. Every animal had Enchi, every animal had calico, and 5 out of 6 had spot nose, and they were all het clown. All of them died except one animal. They all pipped. They were all tongue flicking, breathing, like surviving. They were my first ever twins, and they just died overnight.
Were they? They got out of the egg. Did they seem like they were moving around?
No, not this. Okay, so this was a weird thing. 5. Well, I guess I was gonna say 5 out of 6, but I guess it's 6 out of 6. But one hadn't pipped. 2 were twins. Anyway, 7 babies. 6 had pipped. All 6 died overnight, and then the animal that hadn't pipped yet pipped the next day and survived.
Oh yeah.
So I was first thinking it was a heat thing, but then the animal that hadn't pipped came out. So I was like, wouldn't that be the one that would have died first if there was a heat problem, the one that wasn't breathing?
Yeah.
So I have no fucking clue what happened, but we ended up hatching out this really cool looking Odie Calico Spider Asphalt Het Clown male. And he came out really small too, so I don't know if there's just something going on in the clutch. But yeah, we're keeping him just because like that was devastating, man. Like that was bad. I considered selling.
Did you pull them out of the egg and just to kind of inspect them and see if they had straight spines or whatever?
So I did. I didn't see any kinks. A couple of them did have green yolk sacs, which I know is a problem with bacteria. But they didn't all have that. So I don't know. I'm not too sure. None of them had shark mouth. None of them were kinked. The twins had really small heads, like the really skinny heads. But I've had animals that look like that come out okay. I have no idea, man. It was so bad. Like, I pretended like I was cool, but I was not cool. It fucked me up because I've been waiting for that girl to lay for like 4 years. And then that fucking happened. It was brutal. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why, like, you gotta, you gotta be willing to accept those losses to get, and push through them, or else, most people they quit too soon and they don't stick it through to actually get to the point where things come to real fruition.
It's the one thing it has done is it's made me really excited for next year, like to get something out of her. I'm really hoping it's not something genetically with her. You know what I mean? Because if she is asphalt, she could potentially be a super powerful animal, basically to put to any one of our recessives. And yeah, it just sucks because we had so many plans for those animals, right? Like, I'll just say it now. Like, we hit our first, technically one of the animals was our first freeway we've ever made. which would have been Het Clown. It was also Calico. It was also Spot Nose. It was amazing. It didn't make it. Our twins didn't make it. Like it was just a really, really hard hit.
Yeah. And what
Yeah,
without
unfortunately,
she was a
sorry,
first time mom, right?
Let's say, yeah, she was a first time
Yeah.
mom too.
And it was the male like on the light side. Was he kind of?
You know what? He wasn't then, but then he went on to not eat for a long time. We had to pull him. So I don't know if there's something weird going on with him, but there could have been something. Either way, next year I'm not putting him to her. I'll try her with something different completely. But like it just sucks because to go that full distance, to go through the waiting till she's showing you signs and then pairing and then watching for all the indicators and then ovulation, then prelation, then she gives you eggs, like then you wait for the eggs, then they fucking pip, like, ugh, it's rough.
Yeah. This past season, I had the Grim Reaper was knocking at my door like every clutch. It was I got hit hard that last season, like slugged out, etc. But I hit the number one male I needed, or the number one animal I needed, where I had like just my the girls I have up and coming. The perfect male that I already was like, yo, if I hit anything like that or close to it, that would be perfect to like pair up with some of my girls. Sure enough, I hit this thing, Black Pastel, GHI, Confusion, Mojave, Clown, right?
What?
And the females I had, I mean, I can't express, whatever. The thing came out, got, I don't know, 50 grams, whatever, wouldn't eat. I just fed it for maybe like 8 months. Finally got eating, but it came out with a prolapse hemipene. And sure enough, to this day, I'm still pushing the thing back in every 2-3 days. Right now, a year later, half of it fell off. The other one, I don't even know if it's gonna be able to pump plugs out of it or not. But I don't even know if I can keep that thing on, But I'm been assist feeding it while pushing its hemipenes back in 2-3 days, where I'm checking this thing twice a day. Every day to this time, that other hemipene fell off because I went on a weekend vacation, so like I wasn't there for to check on it twice a day. Typical, the thing's like 100 something grams right now, a year later, and it's still folding inside out on me.
That's brutal, man.
Yeah.
Got a quick question from DNA Reptilia. Do all twins have narrow heads? I have one. Its head is narrow too, even on almost 2 years old. I think the narrow head thing comes from space. I think it's the one part of their body that has a little bit of give if there's not enough space when they're developing in the egg. So I think that might be what it is. I've seen twins, though, come out with very bulbous heads. So I'm just guessing. I've seen lots come out with very narrow heads, though, so it is possible. It is space related. They were my twins. Okay, Adam. If you could remove one gene from the entire hobby, just that gene is gone. The animals don't disappear, but the gene in the animal will just vanish, right? What would it be? And would your answer change if it was limited to your personal collection? It only affected what you owned.
I mean, that's like a rhetorical question. I mean, I don't know who would agree with spider genes gotta go. No offense to you or anyone that has in their collection. It's just the genetic kinks and stuff. I mean, I think even I feel like it's just not fair for the animals neither. It's just like to know that you're going to produce something that most likely going to have genetic flaws.
Now, to counter that, those spider animals wouldn't know any differently, so they wouldn't be. You know what I mean? It's not like the animals are necessarily suffering. I think that's where a lot of people like there might be a bit of a disconnect, because if that's all the animal ever knows, it's kind of like a person being born blind versus becoming blind. A person born blind will be, very adaptive to their environment, versus like if you were to say overheat an animal or expose it to chemicals, that life to adapt to might be near impossible.
Yeah, but I feel like when you kind of can pick and choose, if you feel like, if everyone was banging each other, banging their sisters, and their babies were coming out blind, maybe they'll stop banging their sisters.
All right. This got weird real quick. I love it.
You know what I'm trying to say. When you're breeding siblings together and causing genetic flaws, like then generation over generation, they're so inbred, and tightly bred together that it's kind of hard to kind of like outcross that out of there.
And I mean, I can kind of see that. Like, we're already probably pushing the envelope genetically when it comes to ball pythons, because there are people keeping back offspring to breed back to the moms and stuff like that, right? So if we're already playing that kind of gambling game with the genetics, do we really want something defective in there to begin with, right? Versus potentially having a problem with one or two of the animals versus an issue that persists in every one that's produced. I can kind of see it from that perspective as well.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, I feel like if it's once in a blue moon, I mean, whatever. But if it's like 90% of the time, they have some type of wobble, even if it's minuscule. But if it's say like, all right, 1 out of every 10, obviously it is what it is. That's just Mother Nature, and it happens.
Yeah, and you know what? It's fair. Like, I get it. The spider gene does bring a lot of undue stress onto the hobby. Probably undue attention as well. So I mean, I'm not gonna necessarily argue your point, because it would probably make keeping in general a little bit easier for all of us. But I mean, I just personally think they're cool, and I don't think that they should be ostracized for something that doesn't really affect them as much as we pretend it does. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I get it, and I can appreciate how powerful the gene is too. Like I was saying, like my first or like the second ball python I got was a killer bee, and when I saw that for the first time, I'm like, yo, like that's freaking going from the pastel. That's freaking nuts. Yo, what up, Jason? What's going on?
Sorry, I meant to post that earlier, dude. I apologize. We were talking. Anyway, Adam, we're gonna wrap this up. This has been super fun. Thank you so much for your time. I'm glad we finally got you on after talking about it on and off for it's got to be over a year now.
Yeah. Good to be back.
Well, man, I appreciate all your time. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your Friday night. Like I said, this has been super fun. I'd love to have you back on sometime. Maybe we could do another roundtable. The last one was really, really fun. And yeah, man, I'll catch you probably sometime this weekend.
All right, cool. Definitely. Good chat, and we'll talk soon.
Awesome, Adam. Thanks so much, man. I really, really appreciate you coming on.
Likewise. Thanks, Chris.
All right, guys. So that was super awesome. I love Adam. He's a super, super nice guy. And as Pete so eloquently said in the comments quite a few times, he's quite the storyteller, and I agree. I really like the guy. He makes some amazing, amazing animals. So please go give him a follow. Morphs by Design, all one word on Instagram. And I'm really hoping that Pete isn't. Yeah, okay, good. I was really hoping Pete wasn't pretending he had another question, because Adam's already long gone. But I'm actually super, super stoked. I actually get to announce next week's guest right now. And it's Mike from Insane Clown Pythons. And I am super stoked to talk to him, because he makes some amazing, amazing dudes. No, you're not. You're not sorry at all. Dude makes some incredible stuff. And you know what? I know he's really good friends with the guy that I really respect, Levance. So I could not be more excited to have him on next week. And you know what? I hope you guys have a great rest of your Friday night. I'll see you next week. See ya.